Today, we're going to get weird on the Synthstrom Deluge. Hello everybody, it's Ryan once again from Oakland Ghosts here with another Deluge tutorial session. I guess not really a tutorial, it's just a session. I'm just goofing around in here. Before I get started, once again, we did just drop an EP. It's on all the things. If you like the stuff we're doing here, the chances are you're going to like that too. At least we hope you will. And if you could give it a listen, give it a like, give us a follow on your favorite streaming platform, it'd help us out a ton. I bet you'll like it. If you don't, light me up in the comments. That's fine. So what are we doing today? I didn't intend to film a thing today. In fact, I started an episode last week and I trashed it because I've been getting kind of burnt out. I work in a creative field and I just haven't had the energy after work to be doing any music, and it just felt forced. It didn't feel like it was coming naturally. And one of the things I do when that kind of stuff happens is I try to get in a different mental bucket. And in this case, I decided maybe I'll learn something new about the Deluge instead of trying to make music, and just learn some new tricks, see if I could add some stuff to my toolbox. And I came across this crazy tutorial from Heptagen on how to do granular synthesis on the Deluge. If you don't know what granular synthesis is, I'm not the guy to explain it to you very clearly, but basically it takes a very minute thing, part of your whatever clip you're playing in there, and it just makes it into grains, and it just makes these crazy beautiful soundscapes, and it's pretty intriguing. And it looked like a cool thing. So I followed his tutorial. I'll link it in the comments here. And basically I built what I'm calling a granular starter synth. So it's mostly his settings that he used to get his up and running. And what it allows me to do is take any sample and create a granular synth out of it and play it. And it's super weird and it's really cool. It's really cool for making like ambient textures. And once I started goofing around with it, I basically kind of started rolling with the song, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should get the camera rolling before I get too far ahead here. So it's not a song from total scratch, but I think we'll probably get a song out of it. I'm doing some, besides the granular thing, which I'm going to demo here, I also recorded some guitars, so I'm going to show you how I bring my guitars into the Deluge. There's lots of ways to do it, but I'll show you how I do it. And then I'm also going to create a synth using the mic to do some samples, because I got some ideas for some weird semi-generative kind of stuff. So yeah, let's dive in, right? So I've got my granular synth starter set up, and I can basically plug any sample into it. So I'm going to load a sample. See if we can find something that's kind of clean. And this is just for demo. This isn't what I'm actually using in the song I'm doing right now, I don't think. I mean, maybe it is. Where did I see? I had something kind of cool that might work here, just to kind of show you what I'm talking about here. Sure. So this is a sample, right? Super simple. I'm going to load that as the sample for the synth. And then I'm going to play that. And when I play it, it's just this crazy textures, right? Now, I'm not going to lie. Like, playing it is a little tricky. He kind of goes over it in his demo too. You can kind of go in the waveform, and you can pick different parts. And I'm just using the cutoff to kind of affect the attack. But you can hear how it's just it's really vibey. Right? It's like these crazy pads that are basically going on. I mean, isn't that beautiful? It's so pretty. So basically, the way you can play the synth, there's a couple different ways. It's a little clunky, like I said. The first way you can do it is you can just do kind of what I'm doing, is you kind of find some interesting spots where you can get some chord changes, and you can just manually, using the cutoff as kind of an attack and a roll off, you can kind of blend between them, and you can just resample it and then bring it right back in. Another way to do it, and another way that he showed how to do it, was basically I would kill all the effects, the delay and the reverb and stuff that I have going here, and I can record it. I could just find each little spot, and I could resample that, and then go to the next spot, sample that chord. So just find a bunch of interesting places, however many you want, and then you would basically, let's just back out here. So I'm going to mute that. Then you can basically create a kit track out of it and play the synth that way. So right? So I laid out a pattern, and that just kind of got me going. Got it right here. And I've done some automation. You can see if you look at the cutoff, it's moving. I'll turn it off. And I re-added the effects. I re-added some delay. I re-added you just wash things out so they get super roomy, right? But this kind of got me going, and I was like, "Ooh, that's super pretty." So the next thing I did, of course, was, I just added a simple kick in there to just kind of guide it. And I'm thinking I want to get pretty atmospheric with this one, like just make a big texture. I don't know how I'm going to arrange it just yet. I started adding some drums, and this is all like really organic sounds that I put in here. That's like my basic starter, right? And so I'm just gonna kind of get in on these the secondary drums I did. I got an 808 that's dropping on one of the beats. Got some hi-hats that I delayed out. It's kind of a sucking in sound, like a. And then the snare. So that's like some kind of dirty metal sound. It just kind of makes it sound like it's rolling a snare to me. And then I used like a wood chop for a tree. So my basic beat by itself. Right? And then we got our granular synth that I built. Well, not that one, this one. That was my demo one. And I'm thinking I'm gonna do some generative stuff. I'm gonna get pretty weird, so not super structured, but when I do that, I still like to have at least one thing that you can kind of latch onto that'll repeat and just ground it a little. So I came up with this little line. Simple, but it kind of repeats, and it's just going to kind of give it a little structure, I hope, right? And then I really started taking off. So after I had those, I was like, oh man, I want to play some guitar on this. This one needs like some real guitar, just plucky stuff, a lot of delay. And the way I do it, you could track directly in, of course, with line in, and you could live loop, you can do all that kind of stuff. But I don't really have a lot of pedals lying around handy, or a DI, and my amp's way too loud and not really the sound I want anyway. So the sounds that I wanted, at least for the guitar for this song, are software ones that emulate and sound really good. So what I did was I basically made that little loop. I dumped it into my DAW, synced up the timing, and then I just played a couple loops. And so I have those loops, I cut them, I chopped them, I dumped them back on the SD card. Now, typically the way that I like to do it is I create a kit track. And at least this is the way I've done in the past, is I've created a kit track, and then I bring my samples in and I either stretch them, or, if they're the same tempo, I just drop them right in and do it that easy way. Then I remembered they have audio tracks here. Like, why don't I ever use audio tracks? So that's what I'm going to try this time. I've never really messed with audio tracks. That's what you would be using if you live looped in. So the way you do that is you hold a track here and you push down, and now it's an audio track. And you can go in there and you can go to Shift Browse, and I'm just going to go, I have a folder for all the things that I bring in that are song specific. There we go. There's one guitar. Cool. One of the cool things, as I understand it, the advantage of using something like a kit track is you can use the cut function to like trim samples up and stuff like that. When you use an audio track, it just drops it in. So I can't use cut unless I trim the actual waveform, but it automatically time stretches it too. So if I change the tempo later, it's still going to work. And then I still have access to all the effects. So now that I have this in here, I can drench it with reverb. Want it tucked in, you know? It's not going to be my main thing. And that's cool enough for right now. I mean, this already sounds pretty good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I actually have a second guitar line. So I'm creating a second audio track. And again, I'm going to browse. And I'm just going to throw that guy in there. Same thing. I'm going to play it. I'm going to add some reverb. Both a little bit too loud. I think eventually I'm going to want to pan these out. I'll have this one pretty low and over to the right. I think is how I'm going to want to do that, the higher one. Because it just harmonizes and kind of adds a little texture to the other one. Pretty nice. And then lastly, I made this last night. I mean, there's a lot of pieces here, definitely, for a song starter perspective. So the last thing that I kind of want to do, I'm going to mute these for just a minute. I have a kalimba, and I'm going to try to create a synth using the kalimba, and then I'm going to try to create kind of a semi-generative texture that can lay on top of it with the kalimba, because I think that'll sound pretty cool. I don't know for sure, but I guess we'll find out. So let's give it a try. So I'm going to get a new synth. So I'm going to say shift synth. We don't want dot. We want to do, so I want it to be, I think we could go do it this way. Let's go to shift to type, and then I want it to be sample. So it's got nothing right now. So shift browse. But what I want to do is do the record. So let me grab the kalimba. I have a good old kalimba. I just want to get a sense for how hard to push it. I think that's going to be it. Okay. So I think what I do, again, I've never done this way before, so I think I could just go shift record. Okay, there we go. Okay, I think that second one was probably pretty good. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go into the waveform. We're going to find the note. Pretty good. I hear a little noise on that mic, but I could probably trim it to about right there. Yep, there you go. Sweet. Now that I have my kalimba, I'm going to do some effects just because it's making some wacky noise, getting some feedback here. Let's do, the first thing that I want is I want the release to be a little bit lower. Yep, sweet. I'm not super savvy with synths, but you know, savvy enough, I guess. Let's add some reverb. Add a little bit of delay. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to introduce some randomness. So the first thing I want is I want the pan 0, and then I'm just going to go over here to random, and this will just randomize it so that every time it triggers, it'll go one way or the other. All right, cool. I think that's good enough for now. I just want to play the song. The way I'm going to do some semi-generative, the other thing I want to do is I actually want to randomize just a little bit of the master volume. So it's not the same. Every time it triggers, it'll be a little different too. All right, cool, cool. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to, this is just, you know, I'm experimenting here. I only want a couple notes at a time. Doesn't really matter where I put them. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to vary the lengths that they hit at. Then I'm going to make it go ping pong. Not sure if this is the right sound just yet, but the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the probability that these play on each note. I might want some more notes in here too, to be honest, but for now this is good. Right. So that's just changing the likelihood that that note even gets played. So I'm going to clear everything. Clear. All right. And I want it to be, I'm trying to get it back to 1 bar here. To start. I think what I'm trying to do here this time is trying to make a chord. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I don't know if I'm being successful in this yet. I don't know if the kalimba is actually the right sound now that I'm listening to it, but, you know, whatever. solo this kalimba one for a minute. That's kind of cool. I think less reverb. I just want to hear, a couple things together. See if we... The cool thing when you do those kind of patterns like that, it just gives you surprises. Sometimes it hits a chord. I know everything's mostly in the key, so if I mix it in just right, I think it'll be really interesting. Yeah, it's kind of fun. So yeah, I mean, here's getting weird. So what have we done? We have some very weird drums. I brought in some guitars and audio tracks, which isn't all that weird, but I don't know that a lot of people think about bringing external instruments in here. And there's lots of ways to do it. Like I said, you can live loop in, you can bring them to audio tracks, you can bring them to kit tracks. You can record them in your DAW and then drop them on the SD card, which is what I did, and pop them in. We also, using Heptagen's crazy cool tutorial, we created a granular synthesis synthesizer and chopped it up, built it up in a kit track so that we can have a granular synth, creating this really nice bed. And then I sampled the kalimba, made it sound all wacky, and created kind of a semi-generative vibe in there. So, yeah. Thanks for joining me once again. This is Ryan from Oakland Ghosts. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, all the things. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope this was helpful to some people. I guess there was a couple little tips in there. But yeah, I'll post a link to the final song once I finish it up. I've got some other ideas. I want to add some texture pads and just some chord hits and some weird stuff to kind of break it up a little bit. Probably work a little more on the drums. But in the meantime, let's see if we can't just cook something up, a nice little ambient little jam here, using all the crazy stuff we made right here in the looper to take us out. Here we go.